Hey, this is Coach Rick, and you are listening to the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast, the place where you get the straightforward, no nonsense, no holds barred ideas on leadership and growth, both personally and professionally. The Bald Truth Leadership Podcast is brought to you by the Peak Performance Group. I'm your host, Coach Rick Golster. I'm a certified business coach and the Chief Coaching Officer for the Peak Performance Group, where we help people and organizations achieve their potential, and they align and maximize everything that they do. Today, we have a guest, and I gotta tell you people, I am so excited about this. I have known her for many years. In fact, and don't tell her, but she is absolutely positively one of my favorite people on the planet. We've known each other for probably 20 years, and I've watched her grow from a young, energetic marketing manager to the CEO of a powerhouse marketing and branding company. Today, we welcome the founder and CEO of OBI Creative, Marianne O'Brien, or as I know her, MAOB CEO. Marianne, welcome. Welcome to the Bald Truth.
Thank you, Rick. It's so nice to be here. I'm thrilled to be a part of this, and you're one of my favorite people too, so thank you.
It's so fun. We met by chance, I think it was, many 20-something years ago. We met through a mutual friend, and just over the course of the last 20 years, we stayed in touch, but we keep bumping into each other over time. I mean, we ran into each other, and it was over 20 years ago now. Oh, gosh, it was. Now I look at the dates. At Sturgis, of all places. I didn't know you were going to be there, and you sure didn't know I was going to be there.
No, yeah, we've been around the block, haven't we? We
it's
run
kind of fun
in a while.
And then, across the country, as you were moving your career, I was moving in my career. We've continued to bump into each other. Hey, I'm in the same town. Let's have dinner, and just watching that grow. So, how fun has that been? To build a relationship with someone that you have the utmost respect for, me to you, and watch you grow into this powerhouse, woman-owned, powerhouse, ass-kicking company.
Oh, you're so nice. For me, I always feel like I'm really lucky. I get to run into people that, believe in me and love me and stay in touch with me, and that's you. And I just, I feel really fortunate, and I hope I'm doing the same for you and for others. But I believe in the law of attraction. I think like attracts like, and I really do think that, if you're willing to connect at kind of an authentic level, the person on the other end connects. And so I think that's what you did, and maybe what I did. And so we've just been friends for 20 plus years, and I imagine we'll be friends forever. So
absolutely, it's so fun. And again, as we bump into each other, both virtually and in person as well. Talk about that. In virtually, everything is virtual today. We were kind of chatting before we got going on how many times we're now virtually, because we'll give everybody a kind of where we are, what we're doing. We're in the middle of this COVID-19 thing, and we're sheltered in place here in Texas, and you've decided. And I got to give you props as a leader. What a great decision, I have to say. As a leader, you told me you sent your people home like 3 weeks ago. So what was that? What prompted that for you?
Well, our main office is in Omaha, Nebraska, as you know, and then we've got an office in Des Moines and in San Diego. And so we were getting kind of word from California that what was going on. I'm in Omaha, and so getting word from California. And then, believe it or not, I was on a business trip to South Carolina, and one of my good friends and mentors texted me, and he's like, Marianne, you can't. I was going to go to a volleyball tournament the following weekend. He said, please don't go to that tournament. I don't want you or Cece or Jack, my ex-husband, my daughter's dad, to get sick, and there's 30,000 people going to be at this volleyball tournament. And I was like, what? I mean, he said, I don't want to come off too crazy, but everything I'm reading is, you've got to socially distance. And this was, really before we heard a lot in Omaha. And so I came home and I just thought, Gosh, I think we need to do this. We all travel a lot in my business, and I didn't want us to be the reason anybody got sick. So 3 weeks ago, we said, it's mandatory work from home. I was telling you earlier, there's a couple people who just can't handle it though, and since we don't have shelter in place, they are still going to the office. It's kind of funny. But for me, I'm home. I've been working from home. I'm in my spare bedroom here talking to you, and just trying to make it work. And all this, tele everything or digital everything is I think going to be one of the silver linings of all of COVID-19, that we're able to really kind of lean in to technology and use it to connect with one another even more than we maybe imagined we would want to.
I have to agree with you. I'm seeing that. And I've been doing a lot of these podcasts. I'm doing a lot of Zoom stuff, doing a whole bunch of trainings now. I mean, my days are more full than they were before now, because I'm able to connect virtually. And it's changing the dynamic of business today. And as a leader, what do you see? And I had a ton of questions, but this is going a great place. So what do you see the change in how we now do business as a leader and as someone looking looks to the future, as a thought leader? What do you see happening? And I love to live with an attitude of gratitude. You think of it, so what is it going to come out of this? Yeah, it sucks being stuck at home. And trust me, we've been stuck at home. I go to the grocery store with a mask and gloves and all this stuff, and that's it. Go pick up, some cupcakes and some bread or something. I don't know. And so how is this going to change the game in a business world?
I think there's so much opportunity. So I'm like you, I think necessity is the mother of invention. And so when things like this happen, I try to think about the future and, okay, where should I place my future bets? Because things are changing. Our behaviors have changed. We've been forced to change our behavior. So how is that going to impact, in advertising? I own an ad agency. In advertising, how's that going to impact my business? Then what other ancillary businesses are on the upswing, and what businesses aren't able to kind of handle this, and why? And so I just wrote an article maybe last week or the week before about, day one when we had to really look at the business because of COVID-19. And, I immediately went to the recession. That's where I went. I went right back to the financial crisis. And for ad agencies and many other companies, it was really hard to stay in business. And I didn't want to overreact, but I also didn't want to, put my head in the sand and ignore what was happening. And so I had kind of maybe a day or two of poor me. And then I dusted myself off, put my best jacket on, shoulders back, guns loaded, and said, okay, now what? Where's the opportunity in all this? So I think I would say, the futuristic business leaders are thinking about, how is this what behaviors are changing today that are going to positively impact my business tomorrow? So for you, coaching, like I have time now to do a session with you when I didn't have time maybe before, because I'm a busy working president, whatever.
Sure.
But now I know, look, I can get everything I need to done right out of the comfort of my own house. This whole preconceived notion that I had to be sitting behind my desk at my office, maybe it's a fallacy, because I am getting just as much, if not more, done. And so maybe reprioritizing, what I'm doing for myself or what I'm doing for my clients based on, do I really need to go to their office, or should I just do a call and maximize the time? So I think there's a lot of positive things that are going to come out of it. I mean, industry-wise, I think telehealth, total game changer. Hospitals were resisting. Congress, insurance companies, they weren't paying the same rates for telemedicine. And that all went out the window, about March 15th. We all decided, well, that you're going to have to pay the regular rate, and we're going to have to be able to see our doctors. So I think telehealth, any industry related to telemedicine, telehealth is going to be big. And I also think delivery service. I don't know why. And I don't mean this is just a silly one, but like my country club, they've totally reinvented themselves. They've offered Easter egg drop off, and that they'll hide Easter eggs in your yard and help the Easter bunny. They're doing all this takeout stuff. They'll go buy your groceries and deliver them. So, as a marketer, I know ease and convenience are kind of the most important thing to a lot of consumers. So they just took easy and convenient and took it to a new level from an industry I never would have seen it come from. So I just think there's a lot of things that are going to change for the better. And
Okay.
I believe necessity is the mother of invention.
I think you're absolutely right. We're going to see some new things happening from, like you said, delivery is there. This evening, we're going out with friends. We're going to have dinner with friends in the parking lot of our little favorite restaurant around the corner.
Yeah.
We're going to go, they do run out to the curb. We'll have curbside. We'll put up the back of the SUV, sit in the back of the SUV 10 feet away and talk and have a glass of wine. So there's a way that we interact differently too. And from a business perspective, we're getting to have to be more effective. One of the things that I work with when I work with organizations is really keeping things effective. We use a process called the Rockefeller habits. And it's, you can get a meeting done if you put a time frame on it.
Yeah.
If you don't put a time frame on something, you say, okay, the meeting's an hour, and you have literally one of those little bells, ding, like they do at the front of the hotel, ding, ding, ding. And all of a sudden at an hour, ding, 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 meeting's over. Everybody goes, huh? Whoa, whoa, whoa. They learn how to become more effective. And they recognize the first couple of times probably you're going to be scary, be tough, and there'll be some pushback. Yeah. But once they realize, look, we're 45 minutes into this and we haven't gotten to point 2 and 3 yet. It stops all the superfluous BS that people love in meetings. Point. So I think it's going to really help in that. And I think our efficiencies and our effectivenesses are going to change as well. So I want to take another track now. So I want to talk about your start.
Okay.
Now, how did you get started in media marketing? Oh, I'm going to back this up. You grew up in a small town in Iowa, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. So how did you go from a small town to the president of a multi-location marketing and branding company? And what are some of the things that you learned along the way?
Well, I did. You're right. I was born in Spencer, Iowa, and that's where I grew up, home of the Fighting Tigers. And there's about 10,000 people in our town. I'm number 5 of 6 kids, Irish Catholic family. And I think that for me, I was always naturally curious, and my mom and dad were always reinforcing anything positive that we did. And so I never wanted to stay where I was. I always wanted to keep learning. And my parents supported that. And so did my siblings. And so whatever I would try, my dad would be like, oh my gosh, you're taking guitar lessons? Oh my God. I mean, you could be the next Kenny Rogers. Or I would, be in student government. And my dad would say, well, you're probably going to be the first woman president.
Wait, I would have said Dolly Parton, not Kenny Rogers. But that's okay. Both are great, by the way.
But okay. Yeah, well, I was thinking Kenny since he just passed away.
Yeah.
God rest his soul. But I think I was really fortunate. Like I've always had cheerleaders, somebody believed in me. And I think that's what it takes to, take risks and not be afraid to wipe out. Mm-hmm. And so I went to the college at the University of Iowa, and I studied international affairs and marketing. And I had no idea what that meant or what I was going to do with that. And we didn't have a lot of money in my family, but we had a lot of, we really had it all. We didn't have a lot of the material stuff. We had a lot of just love. And so for me, I always wanted to make money. That was motivating to me because we didn't have a lot. And the people that I saw that had a lot seemed to get to go places that I wanted to go or do things I wanted to do. So I just thought, well, I'll go to law school and I'll be an international lawyer. And then
sounds like fun.
That sounded good, right? Sounded like I could travel the world. And my uncles were lawyers, and they had they had a tennis court in their backyard. Well, okay, maybe I could have that. And it turns out that I couldn't afford another day in college. So by the time it got to like my senior year, I was like, look, I just got to get out of here and make some money. I was I was like a horse with a bit in my mouth. I just felt like I needed to get out of there. And like, I wanted to go to work. I always worked. Like, I started working very young, and I was kind of I am that kid that, I signed my name, Marianne O'Brien, CEO, O'Brien Industries, New York, 10069, since I've been in the 3rd grade. So if you went back and looked at my report cards, they would have MAOB.
Because that's how I remember you.
Yeah.
You actually introduced yourself to me that way.
I did.
Yeah.
See, I had no fear. I don't know.
MAOB CEO. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, just crazy. I didn't know at the time, but I was visualizing. Now I know, like, I can look back and be like, oh my gosh, if you believe, you will receive. But no, we weren't big visualizing family, but we were definitely, believe in yourself. And so I think I knew a CEO was the boss. I want to be the boss. I don't know. I was just that kid, probably that annoying kid.
No, that's great. See, what a great, we know at this point, we know about visualization, vision boards, really putting things out there into the universe. But we didn't think about that as kids. I don't know that our parents, which are basically the same generation, they understood what that was. We see that more. We've got that from The Secret, all the things that are out there, Deepak Chopra, that are putting this out there into the marketplace on a regular basis. And I absolutely positively believe in it. I use things called affirmation. We use affirmations, and not the, doggone it, people like me affirmations from Al Franken, but really putting things out there that you want to become and making sure that you now believe that you already are that. Just like you said, I was a CEO. I kept telling myself I was a CEO, and you became that. And it's how that comes true so quickly. So along the way, though, you must have had some people. You said something that kind of grabbed me. You said something about people that believed in you, cheerleaders. That was the word you used.
Yeah.
So what is that? Would you call them cheerleaders or mentors? Tell me about the importance of that. How important were they?
Well, I mean, for me, probably the most important. Maybe you have to believe in yourself, but then I think in order to, if you really want to be a good leader and you want to, however you define success, you want to be successful. I think if one other person believes in you, you can get through just about anything. And so, finding a mentor that kind of gets you and understands your vulnerabilities and all your strengths and kind of your whole package. And, it takes time for you to get a mentor that knows you that well, but being willing to put yourself out there and ask somebody for help, it's kind of a human truism that if you ask someone for help, they will help you. And so in my first job, I started my career at Gateway Computers. In my first job, I was looking for help. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I knew I didn't know enough. So I just, I stayed late, got to work early, and I noticed who in the building had a lot of influence. And one day I just asked the head of legal. I said, Mr. Elliott, I'm Marianne O'Brien. I didn't say CEO at that time, but I'm Marianne O'Brien, and I wondered if I could come in and talk to you about business. I just want to continue to move forward in my career. And I was like shaking in my boots. And he was like, absolutely. He was our general counsel. Gateway was a massive company at the time. Who had nerve to walk in and ask? I don't know. Maybe it was ignorance, but it worked. He was probably my first mentor.
Okay.
And then the founder of Gateway, Ted Waite, has been a mentor of mine forever. And Bill was very much, all the education and the degrees and the background. And Ted was like this cowboy. So I kind of got both sides of, you have to trust your instincts, but you also have to use your knowledge, and you have to balance that. And so I've always had great mentors, and I thank God for them.
If you were to say to the folks that are listening to the podcast, say, what's the importance of that, and what's the best way to make that happen for mentoring?
Yeah. The best part of it, I think, is that it sort of allowed me to either validate or invalidate an assumption. I had somebody to ask before I went into a meeting and said whatever I was going to say, or, came up with a campaign that I could bounce it off them. And my dad was my first mentor. My dad, and so I always had someone that I could say, I'm kind of thinking about this or that, and then they'd say, well, have you thought of this? So they helped me make my ideas better, and they also would help me. From a, even, I guess, ethical standpoint, like I didn't know what business meant. I didn't know what was right or wrong in business. And so they'd kind of keep the guardrails. I'd say, hey, this person wants me to do this. What do you think about that? Or I got this job offer, or I got, I'm going to buy this. What do you think? And so they just help. It's just another set of eyes and wisdom that they would impart.
All right. So what would you say? What would you say to someone who's afraid? Like you said, you had no fear when you went in and you talked to Bill. Say, hey, look, I know you're general counsel, but I'm Marianne, and talk to me. But a lot of people have that fear of the rejection. They'll look bad. That they're not in their place, whatever that place might be in the corporate structure. What would you say to someone that's reluctant right now to go up to one of those high-powered individuals in their company?
Well, my dad used to say, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. There's nobody better than you. You're not better than anybody else. You might work harder than other people. You might try, you might fight, whatever, but there's nobody better. So don't be intimidated by who anybody is. You put your hand out, shake their hand, look them in the eye, and, let them know who you are. And if they don't like who you are, that's okay. Life's a numbers game. And so sales, you got to get through the no's to get to the yeses. So I think I just, if they said no, I'd find somebody else. Like, I guess okay. So don't give up. If somebody says they don't have time to be your mentor, move to the next person. Get a list of people that you admire. And I really do believe it is a human truism. If you ask for help, most of the time people will help you. So just be yourself and ask, and then shut your mouth and let them say yes or no. And it's awkward for a minute, but just let that ask out, and let it give them some time to think. And they'll either say yes and it'll work, or they'll say no, but I think this person is. Because most people that are, from my experience, executives are looking for good people. When you are an executive, you notice the good people, and you notice the ones that aren't good. The ones in the middle just float on by. They're kind of solid, but you notice someone like yourself. And because you don't get to be the executive if you weren't good.
Yeah.
So I think they will notice something in you if you're really that hungry and are willing to, work for it. So.
That's such great advice. We had a guest on a couple shows back, and he said, one thing I did well was I hired well. I hired good people. Mm-hmm. And like you said, they'll see that you're hungry, and they understand when someone is willing to put themselves out there and say, I want to learn. I don't throw me to the wolves a little bit. Just show me. And he said, he was one of my early mentors, and he said, I go to lunch with him. He's the president of the company. I was just one of the sales guys, and I would go say, hey, you guys going to lunch? And he goes, yeah. And I would just sit there and listen, like, early 30s, trying to figure this all out. What is this corporate world like? And to anyone listening, just put yourself in a place. You don't have to be the one that talks all the time, but be the one that listens. Spend time, the old 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in the appropriate ratio.
Yeah.
There. So
that is such good advice. Listen. Just listen to them. They will help you. Yeah.
So you took a startup. OBI was off the top of your head. You just said created this. I'm going to start, O'Brien Industries and figure this out. And you took a startup business from nothing, essentially an idea, to a multi-million-dollar operation with multiple locations. What was that? What was that like in that growth process for you? But you only have like 4 minutes to do it in.
Okay, I'll make it quick. It was exciting and fun and a ton of work and lots of hiccups along the way. And I hired great people, like your last one of your last guests said. I mean, the key is your people. So being, knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at, and then, sort of filling out the rest of the table with those people that are better than you helps a lot. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. It's been a cool journey. I don't think I set out to own an ad agency. I thought I'd be a consulting firm, and we are, but it's funny how life takes you down these different paths. And, as long as we're providing value to our clients, we're doing the right thing, and to our employees. So it's been good.
See, I love that you said, as long as we add value.
Yeah.
And I think that's a critical thing as a leader. Are you adding value to your people, to your clients, and to the people that you surround yourself with? I always go back to Richard Branson because I just absolutely fall in love with his mindset and his thought process and his culture. Is take care of your people, they'll take care of your customers, and they'll take care of the profit. And making sure it's in that order and taking care of the people that we work with. They're the most important asset that we have. And the culture there, and conversations I'm having recently are more on culture and values, vision, direction, is building culture in a competitive industry. How do you build the right culture? And look, there's a lot of ad agencies out there. You're in a very competitive business.
Yeah.
How do you build the right culture for your people? What is it that gives you that edge or that difference culturally?
It's probably the biggest question we get nowadays from a brand perspective. How do I build an employment brand? How do I build culture? So I'll tell you, I think in a nutshell, you have to stand for something. And so I knew from my corporate years at Gateway, and ultimately I was the chief marketing officer there, I knew that if you erred on the side of the customer, and the customer could be your employee, could be your current customer, prospective customer, your competitor's customer. So think of customer broadly. But if you erred on the side of the customer, the money would follow. Everything else would follow if you took care of your customers. So for me, I didn't like when I would hire ad agencies that didn't use customer research. I don't like hope as a strategy. Hope is not a strategy to me. Hope is just hope.
Love that.
And so our whole business is based on understand the voice of the customer, understand what customers want, then align the brands that engage with us, our clients, align what they have with what customers want. Don't force what they have that you hope customers want in the market, because it won't work and it won't be efficient and you won't be adding value to them. And so standing for something, again, I think that allows all the fodder to go away, and the people who are attracted to that and who believe in that, they come to you. You have to stand for something, then the people that your employees either align with that or don't. And if they don't align, you need to let them go on their own way. And if they do align, you need to just wrap your arms around them. And so for me, from a culture standpoint, I have a culture club at OBI. I'm not the person who comes up with all the cool activities. I love going to them, but that's not my strength. And
Okay.
And I'm more kind of the visionary, so details are not my strong suit. And so I know that. So I let the culture club do what they do, and we have a great culture. I'm really proud of our culture. It probably didn't have much to do with me. It had to do with my people. But at least I know, we stand for something, and we stand for, we're good fiduciaries of your marketing dollars, because we're finding out what matters to the customer before we go out and spend all this money to advertise.
I love that, because you come down to, and I love hope is not a strategy.
Yeah.
It really isn't. And I've used that in the past myself as well. But the culture club, what a cool concept.
Yeah.
And so take it 30 seconds to expand on that. What is the culture club? Besides an old movie from the 80s, 70s,
Yeah,
I think.
or a band or something. It's a group of employees who kind of put their hand in the air and said, I want to be a part of building OBI's culture. And I think it's 4 or 5 people, and they meet monthly and come up with activities for us to do to just reinforce, the teamwork. We have 7, 8 different practice areas, so they don't all get to work with each other all the time. And so making sure that we're finding ways to bring everyone together. And they have a budget and they have a plan and they execute it. And then they also help to give us feedback on things like benefits and, does this align with our brand? If this decision's got to be made and it impacts our employees, they weigh in and help us kind of guide us on what makes sense for them.
Excellent. What a great, for someone that's out there that's listening, what a great idea is. And you don't lead it.
No,
you let your team lead it.
Yeah.
So for someone that's listening, say, hey, Culture Club, let your employees take some responsibility. Because I truly believe that if you give them a responsibility, they'll take it and run with it. And they'll find things that you never even thought of, that we couldn't even imagine. Like, where did you come up with that?
Yeah.
And it was a cool idea. And I think a lot of cool ideas spur out of that. So quickly, I want to be cautious of our time, make sure that we're staying on track. And we're great right now. I'm curious, you've done a lot of interesting things, and you're living in Warren Buffett world up in Omaha, Nebraska. And I know that you're involved in a lot, and you've seen a lot of things, and you have an amazing work history. And starting at Gateway, when Gateway it was the computer to get. It was it. So you must have run into some interesting people along the way. So is there any notables that you've run into where you go, I can't believe I just met that person?
Well, you, Rick, you're one of them.
Oh, get out of here. I'm just me.
No.
That you fangirled all over.
Well, I'm just going to start, maybe go back and think of Walter Payton. We did a deal with him. That was cool. This Pete Townsend from The Who. We bought his music, and he and I are friends now. I just try to stay in touch with. He's great. You'd love him. Shaquille O'Neal, we did some work with. I've met Warren Buffett a few different times. He's pretty awesome. Matt Damon. There's a Diamond Dallas Page.
Sure.
President Clinton, President Bush. So a lot of different, guess dignitaries or luminaries. And trying to think, who else? I don't know. Is that what you were looking for?
Well, yeah, it's just kind of curious. You do a lot of things.
Jeff Bezos. I spent a day with Jeff Bezos. That was really great.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, we did the advertising for the movie, the Amelia Earhart movie, back in like 2010 or 11 or whenever it was. And he was friends with the producer, and so it was like an all-day kind of event. And he and his wife at the time, Mackenzie, I think is her name, and we spent a lot of time together that day, and that was great. He's a real customer-centric marketer too. Like, they were putting tons and tons of money into customer research, and I remember thinking, I'm investing in that guy's company, and I did back then.
Good for you.
I called my dad actually from New York and was like, I've been talking to this guy, and Amazon maybe it was like 2009. I don't know. Amazon wasn't anything like it was today, and I still have the stock. So that was a good one.
Good for you. Well, it's a good time to have it today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening today. I can't, it just is
today is in these days, not today and tomorrow.
Days, yeah. No,
they're delivering. I got one or two a day at my house. Holy smokes. Yeah. It's Christmas every day around here.
Yeah, and look at their packaging, like from my old days at Gateway, the cow spotted boxes, and then Amazon's packaging, you see it everywhere. It's kind of fun.
It's the new Nike swoosh is what it's come down to.
Yeah.
It is totally. So, all right. So now I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
This is it. I'm putting you on the spot. We've got Coach Rick's Bald Truth questions that I ask every one of my guests.
Okay.
You sure you're ready for this?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, good.
Give it to
So
me.
here's what it is. And I just want to, before we do that, is there anything you want to promote, ventures, a shout out, anything you'd like to promote to anybody that's out there? What's going on?
Maybe just a shout out to my employees. I mean, they're just doing such a great job in the middle of all this crazy pandemic, and our clients are, needing more and more communications, probably more than ever before. And we set up a whole news desk, and all we're doing is sharing communication. So just a shout out to my team and to our clients. And I'd say if you're a brand that can afford to invest or overinvest, now's the time to do it. Everybody's at home and they're watching TV, they're online, so all your media tactics will be working. And the people that invest in times of crisis are really the ones that emerge leaders. So if you want to pick up market share, now's your chance.
What great advice. That's amazing. Thank you. Perfect. Nailed it. All right. So here's a question.
Okay.
You're holding a dinner party for 6 people, yourself included. You're one of the 6. What 5 people, and again, here's the caveat. You can invite anyone in all of time, anyone who's ever been alive or is alive today. You can't invite anybody who hasn't been born yet, but anyone from today to as far back as time goes, you can invite anyone you wanted. Who do you invite? You get to invite 5 people. Who do you invite and why do you invite them?
Well, my dad passed away 4 years ago. So my dad for sure, because I just miss him, and I would love to know what he thinks we're doing, how we're doing. So my dad, my mom, because she's always so excited about anything I do. And so, to have my cheerleaders there would be great. I was lucky enough to get to have dinner with Warren Buffett once, and it was so interesting. And he was so engaged in business and small business in particular. And so I'd love to have him come because he just, for somebody as bright as him and as wealthy as him and have as much influence, he really was in touch with kind of the issues that small businesses face. So I'd love a little time with him. I just watched a documentary. I've met Bill Gates before, and I met him when I was at Gateway, and great, very nice man, but a little distant. And I feel like Bill Gates and his wife Melinda have just done amazing things, like really forward thinking. And I'd love to have him there with Warren just to watch their what they would talk about. So I'm at 4.
Yep,
is that right?
one more.
4? Okay, then oh my gosh. Okay, number 5. This isn't going to be that great, but I feel like I would like Cleopatra, or like a female leader from the past to, I hate using the female card or anything like that, but there are things that happen, and I'd love to just like pick her brain on how do you handle this, or how did you handle that, or whatever. And then drum roll, my number 6 would be Jesus Christ.
Excellent. Good job.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love that. So, all right. So now, question 2. An article's being written about you.
Oh my God, Rick, I need to bring my fiance and Cece too. Sorry. I gotta open the circle. So 8.
Oh, you're always over.
Dinner party.
Now it's a real party. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, you know what? Nothing like an overachiever to stretch the limits. I love it. All right. An article's being written about you after you've passed. And we all have a time. We all have got an expiration date. We know that. But here it is. An article's being written about you. What's the headline? Not what's in the article. What's the headline? Come on, you got to think of something now.
Okay. She believed she could, and she did.
Awesome. Good stuff. And finally, every morning, I'd love for our listeners to just get some insight into you. And every day you wake up, and we know that there's a lot of stuff going on today, but every day you wake up, what do you do each morning to set yourself up for a successful day?
Well, when I wake up, I lay in bed and I visualize the day. So I spend about 15 minutes just thinking about the day. I usually start out with like 3 things I'm grateful for, because I just think if you're grateful, you can't really be depressed, or, I like positivity. So I always talk, kind of walk through what I'm grateful for, and then visualize my day. And then I have this little mantra I read, and I usually work out, or, I get up, I have some coffee, then I work out, or I read, I kind of drill down into the world, what's happening, because I
Okay.
think a lot of what I have to know, it has to be broad. So I usually some sort of education, and then I get to work.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, this has been absolutely my pleasure to have you on. And as I said earlier, you truly are one of my favorite people on the face of the planet. You have been since the day we met. And there's a God connection there. There's a connection there when you put good people with good people. And I truly believe that. This has been an absolute pleasure. So I want to thank you for being on and being our guest and sharing some great information for leaders in small businesses, and ideas on mentoring, and a lot of stuff that you just kind of blew me away with so much stuff that you shared today. I just want to thank you for all of that.
Well, thank you so much. I feel the exact same way about you. So thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Well, this has been The Bald Truth with Coach Rick and Marianne O'Brien, CEO. I'm Coach Rick of the Peak Performance Group, the company that helps people and organizations reach their potential. If you're looking for a way to grow your organization, whether sales, strategic direction, the Peak Performance Group coaches can help you grow and prosper using our proven business acceleration process. You can call us at 817-748-7425 or visit our website, www.mypotentialplus.com, and we'll connect you with the right coach. I'm Coach Rick, and that's The Bald Truth.